Right, welcome everybody. We are delighted to have back with us Neil Clark. I hope you're well, Neil. And Neil is the CEO of Destiny Pharma, which is listed on AIM. Its ticker is DEST. And we had a very informative chat with Neil probably about 4 months ago. And I don't know how long this interview is going to take, but since then he's doubled the share price, increased the market cap by more, expanded the portfolio, raised money, and the group is in a much changed state and clearly a much stronger state. So I think the simplest thing is to pass over to Neil, who can perhaps first give us a little bit of background for new viewers about what Destiny is, what it was set up to do, and then we'll update on the progress of the old portfolio and talk about the new additions. So over to you, Neil.
Thanks very much, Andy. Good to be talking again. So yes, for those who are new to the story, and of course it's all on our website, destinypharma.com, we're committed to developing drugs to prevent and treat infections. And we've been doing this as a company for 20 years. Initial focus has been with our own XF platform, which was discovered by our Chief Scientific Officer and founder, Dr. Bill Love. So we own the XF platform, and it's been developed to target the prevention of hospital infections with our lead program, XF73, which is in phase 2 studies, which we're looking to complete recruitment this year. And that's been a key driver of the story in the last really 3 years since our IPO on AIM in 2017. But it's fair to say that the area of anti-infectives, antibiotics, even vaccines, antivirals has perhaps been unfashionable. But of course, there's been a clear change, a dramatic change this year with the backdrop of COVID into this whole area. Prevention is better than cure. Infections need to be prevented, treated with new drugs, new treatments. And we have been working in this space for many years. Obviously, with our XF platform, we're targeting bacterial infections. But what we've done in the last really 6 months with that backdrop of COVID, we've been taking forward our lead asset, XF73, as I said, through its phase 2 program. But we've also brought in 2 new technologies. In September, I think it was, we announced, backed by an £800,000 Innovate UK grant with our collaborators SporeGen, a UK company led by Professor Cutting. We brought in a COVID-19 project, which is targeting the stimulation of the innate immune system through nasal stimulation with a bacterial formulation, which SporeGen has developed. A very exciting technology, which is directly targeting COVID-19, which is the first time we brought in a technology that wasn't an XF technology. So we've expanded the pipeline. But again, it's preventative, very focused. It's obviously early stage, it's preclinical, but we're looking with the grant funding to move that towards tests in man over the next 18 months. And we've made a very good start there with our partners. But also perhaps more significantly, if we're honest, because it's a late stage clinical asset, just in the last weeks, we've closed an acquisition where we've acquired a phase 3 ready program, a product that's come out of the work of Professor Dale Girding, a US medic and academic who's worked in this area of a gut infection caused by a bacteria called C. difficile. The toxic strains cause gut infections. And we've acquired this package, which has finished its phase 2 program, and we're now looking to prepare that towards phase 3s. And that was just closed recently. So we've added that to our pipeline. Again, it's a preventative approach. It's a totally different technology again to the XF program. It's a natural occurring bacterial spore, so it's a sort of biotherapeutic in that world of microbiome, fitting well with the COVID-19 program, SporeCov, we have. So we really pleased that we've not only maintained momentum with our previous lead program, XF73, but we've added on 2 new programs, and really excitingly, one of them is a late-stage clinical program, which of course, in these public markets is, we believe the key driver of value. So as we move forward into 2021, we've got data coming from in Q1 from our XF73 phase 2 program, and we will be preparing the phase 3 preparatory work for what is called NTCD-M3, our C. diff program. And we've got these earlier assets. So we believe a really strong space. We also closed the funding to acquire the asset and also to refresh our working capital, which was pretty good anyway. We had money to the end of next year. We've now got money to the end of 2022. So as a biotech, I think we're in a really strong position. Late stage portfolio, exciting earlier assets, and a really strong cash position. I mean, to be honest, you can't wish for much more in a UK biotechnology company, and we're really pleased with the support we've got and the prospects ahead.
Well, it sounds very encouraging to see the portfolio diversified that, and of course a strong balance sheet. And maybe just clicking through them one by one. On XF73, you've mentioned you're expecting the results from the trials sometime early next year. I believe first quarter 21 is still the expectation there. So that sounds as if, in terms of concluding the trial, you're still recruiting patients, and given the time of the year, you must be nearly complete by now.
Yes, we've said obviously publicly we're looking to complete recruitment by the end of this year. So we're targeting 125 patients, and we're well over 100 on our way to that target. It's it's been a difficult year across the world for drug trials with the backdrop of COVID, but we have sites open in 3 countries, and our Chief Medical Officer, Jesus Gonzalez, is working hard, and yes, we're still on track to complete recruitment this year. We'll obviously update the markets, and then of course the data analysis will start, and the data will be reported to the company, as I said, in Q1. It takes time, obviously, to check all the data's there in correct form, and everyone's handwriting can be read, etc. But we're really excited about obviously completing the recruitment, which has always been a key target, and then delivering that data. As I said, we're saying publicly by the end of Q1.
Yeah, well, you've taken care of what's under your control. I also saw some news that I suppose that you could call it a potential competitor, another product that is in the prevention of post-surgical infection, which was Bactraban, in the important US market, is apparently no longer available, which seems to clear the way for XF73, assuming approvals do come through.
Yes, it's an interesting development. So Bactraban is not actually approved in the US for the prevention of hospital infections. It's a nasal gel formulation, because you want to target the bacteria in the nose that are causing the infections after operations. It's actually approved for its use when there is an outbreak. So it's not a preventative, it's actually a treatment. But the fact is it's used off-label. It has been used as a preventative treatment. It's not approved by the FDA, but doctors, because they have a lack of alternatives in the US, we're using that drug. So it's interesting that it's been withdrawn. We believe that some of the reasons it's been withdrawn are through to low usage, which is driven by its resistance profile. So it's one of these old antibiotic classes, which is well known to lead to antimicrobial resistance and the generation of superbugs. One of the key claims we make and can make, because it's backed up by scientific data, is that our XF platform does not seem to generate the same levels, if any, resistance. So we obviously are in the business of delivering effective drugs that kill the bacteria but don't generate superbugs, and that's a key differentiator for our XF platform. And the validation there is in not only in the academic papers, but also the support from the FDA to our approach. We have been awarded QIDP status, fast track status. And that's so that sort of removal of that product, Bactraban, it removes, it's not really a competitor, but it removes one of the few treatments that are out there. So it's an even clearer opportunity for us in the US and indeed the rest of the world. So it's interesting news. And I said we're post phase 2 data. We'll be back talking to the FDA with our phase 3 plans, and we'll get more updates on that, on what actually is going on in terms of current competitor products. But at the moment, we see no real alternative, and so there's almost an open goal for us. If we can deliver our profile through our clinical studies, and then obviously phase 3 studies, there's a great opportunity in the US, because there's a clear market need and there's no approved product. And our label for our product will be the prevention of post-surgical staphylococcal aureus infections. So that's something the FDA have told us to head for, and with that guidance and the lack of competition, there's a great market opportunity, of course, if we deliver the clinical data.
Well, that sounds very encouraging. It brings us neatly on to M3. It's the juicy prospects of Destiny having 2 development products that are phase 3 ready in the early part of next year. So can you tell us a little bit more? How long have you been aware of the M3 strain C. difficile treatments that you've now acquired the rights to? Is it a long-term relationship or an opportunistic purchase?
I think it was after the IPO. I think one of the advantages of a public listing, it raises your profile, and it was actually through connections we came across this asset, which is effectively owned by Professor Girding, which previously he'd licensed to a large US biotech, which had been bought by a pharma company. And as part of the portfolio review, this program was handed back to Professor Girding, the inventor, because it wasn't a core to that new sort of owner's therapeutic focus. They were focused on orphan drugs, and this is a preventative approach for a bacterial infection. So it was one of those opportunities where a quality asset is perhaps been parked by pharma because they were focusing on other areas, other opportunities. And we were fortunate to come across, be connected with Professor Girding through our scientific advisory board. And this was over 18 months ago. And then we had an initial review. And then gradually over a period, we've completed due diligence, but also had meetings with the FDA to clarify the way forward. So in terms of us acquiring the asset, which we've obviously now done, one of the key questions we had was, what is the pathway through the phase 3 studies? And we've clarified that through discussions with the FDA. So we understand the manufacturing process, and also the fact that it's one phase 3 study, 800 patients. So we now own the asset, we've done a funding, and we are preparing for the manufacturing, because the manufacturing is not straightforward. This is a biotherapeutic product. It's not organic chemistry. And then we will look to start clinical studies in 2022. So, the year after next, it will be soon, obviously, as we end this year, and very exciting to add that asset to our portfolio. But it comes from world-leading science, high quality phase 2 program. And again, it's a well-positioned product. It's sort of a naturally occurring treatment from the human microbiome, which we're now preparing as a drug to go into damaged microbiomes, as it were, to act as a sort of a natural ground cover to prevent toxic strains of C. difficile from flourishing. And these toxic strains of C. difficile attack the colon, the gut lining, and lead to very nasty, repetitive episodes of diarrhea, inflammation, and really nasty, debilitating condition, especially when you think that the patients who often pick up this condition are elderly patients in hospitals, care homes, where of course they're perhaps weak or suffering from other ailments. And of course, the last thing any of us would want on top of one problem is a gut problem like that. So it's a big market again, and we think we've acquired a really interesting program, which has previously had fast track status from the FDA. So again, high quality and a preventative approach, fits very nicely with our XF story and our strapline. Prevention is better than cure. Our main programs now, M3 for C. difficile infections, XF73 for the prevention of post-surgical infections, our COVID project. They're all preventative, they're all novel. They can all be made at a decent cost of goods. So then, we think they have a good chance of being low cost of goods, stable drug solutions, which gives them great flexibility in pricing and capturing large markets. So again, we think there's some varieties of the pipeline. It's actually some interesting focus in terms of our approach, which again is a key thing. I think as a small company, it helps to have a focus, obviously expertise, and a story that hopefully is relatively easy to understand. But some exciting opportunities and some great science, early stage, and of course, great clinical data with those two lead programs.
Yeah. Well, of course, not only is prevention better than cure for the patients, but of course, prevention is materially cheaper than cure when it comes to the state or hospital infrastructures as well. And just to clarify on M3, you said clinical trials in 2022. So presumably we're talking as soon as 2025, 2026 for commercial launch, assuming all goes well.
Those for both programs, actually, those are the types of timelines we refer to. Obviously, need to be careful. We haven't started phase 3s yet, but typical timelines would suggest that we can deliver phase 3 data in 25, and then of course you can prepare for them for the regulatory filings. So that's in the timescales of drug development. That's not too far away. the key next steps for us with both of the assets, obviously, is to, well, with the M3 asset is to prepare and then start the phase 3. That is actually our most advanced asset, because we've completed the phase 2 program. With the XF73 program, as we've discussed, we're just finishing that phase 2 program. So we've got a really interesting data point coming up there in Q1, which is very exciting. We're obviously very confident that it will be positive, but it's a drug trial, so we're really excited about seeing the data and then clarifying those phase 3 plans. So it almost catches up then with M3, and we're looking forward to being in that fantastic position in, say, the middle of next year with 2 phase 3 ready assets with great momentum moving towards phase 3s, with exciting opportunities for partnering. And strategically, the company, our valuation, we should be looking across at companies in America with similar assets. Our valuation should be much, much higher, but that's in some ways, that's up to us to deliver the data, and the valuation will follow. So we're not obsessed with share price, but obviously investors want to see the potential for uplifts, and we sit alongside them as shareholders or share option holders.
Yeah. Well, perhaps it's a very attractive dish that you've described there, and perhaps the crucial source on top of it, which you've already referred to, is the balance sheet. So you concluded a equity placing fairly recently, raising, I think it was £10.4 million gross, and that sets you up very nicely to develop both of these later stage lead products and plan ahead accordingly without any worries about finance being necessary in the coming months or indeed year.
Yes, no, I agree. Yeah, and we started the process in the autumn with cash running to the end of 2021, and as I said, we've extended it to 2022, and we've acquired the asset. So we paid an upfront of $3 million to acquire M3. So some of that, obviously, the cash we raised has gone out the door to Professor Girding, which is, was a great deal for us and hopefully for him as well. And we're well funded, and we will be careful with the money. I'm an accountant. We have a CFO, and our chairman's an accountant. So we also have scientists and medics. Don't worry. But it's a balance always between managing the cash and actually being ambitious and pushing forward, because we want to develop our drugs, get them to market as we discussed. 2025 is a few years away, and if we get towards those targets, that is where you really crystallize value. And what we all want to do is to deliver 1 or 2 products to the market. That is fantastic achievement for any biotech to see compounds through those research development stages and actually have a product approved to be sold on the shelves. It's fantastic. I've been involved in a small way in one in the past, which has recently come to be launched as a product, and it's a great feeling to be associated with an asset along that journey.
Yeah. Right, well, it's great catch up, Neil. Obviously, we wish you all the best. There sounds like a lot of news flow coming up in the next few weeks and months, and fingers crossed, you're looking very confident. I'm sure that's going to be as hoped. For people who want to learn more about Destiny, which is a fascinating business, and it's so nice to see a British company leading the way in solving a lot of problems for patients around the world on this basis. The Destiny Pharma website is a mine of information, and Neil's not allowed to say how undervalued he thinks his business is, but there's a number of research reports on the equity development site written by Dr. Andy Smith. And I believe after the placing, his fair value calculation was 262 pence per share, which is approximately 4 times where the group is trading at the moment. So well worth a look. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, Neil.
Thanks very much, Andy. Thank you.